Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. We apologize for the slight delay. We were allowing some of our guests to join in. But thank you for joining us to this wonderful webinar. So to kickstart, our agenda for today we will be looking at the challenges that are faced from an audit perspective. We will get an overview of the solution that we are proposing and presenting to you. And then we will jump into a live demo in order for you to see the actual software in action. At the end of the webinar, we will give you an opportunity to ask any questions. So to start off with, the team that is responsible for Audit Tracker from a sales perspective, our beautiful ladies, Basitsana, Nomsa, Ayandiswa, and Kanyisa. These are the people that you will be in contact with in order to have the solution available to you. Now, the team responsible for the product, my name is Michael. I am part of the team, and I will be joined today on this webinar by Stefan, Annika, and Philip, unfortunately, is not able to join in this particular webinar, but partnering with me today will be Stefan, who will give you an overview of the solution, and then Annika will present the live demo of the software. Now, you will agree with me that the audit period is one of the most stressful time in any accountant's timeline. To give you an overview of some of the challenges that we face from an audit perspective, particularly during the audit cycle. The first one is meeting deadlines. You know, some of the solutions or some of the encounters that we have is the lack of project management tools, which in turn causes us not to meet deadlines, as well as the lack of reminders in that regard. You know what you need to do, but because you lack reminders, you will miss your deadlines. The second one is the sharing of evidence, you know, being a challenge. You will agree with me if the Auditor General requests for some information and you have a heap of papers that are stored within your cupboard, you need to share that with the auditors in Pretoria or in a remote location. You know, keeping track of those documents that you intend to or you have shared is a challenge without a proper solution. Project management via email. We will all agree sending documents via emails causes confusion. Version controls. Which document did you send? Was it updated? Was it not? Particularly in this instance, managing RFIs and commerce. You know, in addition to that, the lack of accountability. Taking a step back and looking at this from a CFO's perspective, how do you keep everyone accountable in their respective areas in terms of have they submitted the documents that they should be submitting? You know, the lack of reports in this regard, as well as, you know, keeping the leadership on the audit progress in the site, you know, getting to know what is happening, that visibility within the audit period space. And lastly, the lack of communication. This poses a big risk, both from a CFO's perspective, the Department of Municipalities perspective, as well as the auditor's perspective, the lack of communication. Now, given these challenges, we developed a solution. The solution will help you manage the audit cycle, right? Now, you are going to experience a solution today which is tried and tested. And currently, the solution is implemented across 8 successful clients within South Africa's public sector market. And these include significant public entities, local municipalities, as well as TVET colleges. We believe that Audit Tracker is a natural extension of the Caseware financial statements preparation software, as well as audit preparation. So we hope to expand this footprint even more to all our Caseware clients and even beyond. To provide more details on the solution, I will hand over to Stefan, who will take us through.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for that great introduction and overview. Really appreciate that. Thank you for you listening in to this webinar. What a privilege for us to bring you this product. So Michael has stated the challenges the users has. So we have in the past, Caseware is used to prepare the financial statements. Usually it's like 2 or 3 people in a entity excuse me, responsible for doing that. However, a need was expressed, in order to prepare for the audit, in order to manage the RFIs and the COMAFs better, all of that actually contribute to a better audit outcome. And that is where the audit preparation, the audit preparation as well. And that's where the Audit Tracker has come from. So from a system overview, it is a solution that is cloud-based, which means for you to subscribe is very easy. You just need to have your user credentials registered on the Audit Tracker solution. Then from a solution point of view, we have taken the whole process to prepare for the audit and to prepare the financial statements as a project. So embedded in the solution is product management functions, task allocation to a user with deadlines, subtask allocation to a user with deadlines, automation features that helps you to move from one phase to another as you continue in your preparation process. Then a whole process to manage with the Auditor General the communication of audit findings and the request of information. It actually means that you can make the Auditor General part of this whole system. The upload and the distribution of evidence with the Auditor General is now included in the system. The system automatically generates for you an action plan that is for your next year's audit from the information that was sourced in the current year audit. And then also there's customized checklists that help you to keep track of all the different tasks that you need to do. You would understand, and if you're involved in the audit there is different phases. You need to look at your business processes, you need to look at your balances on your financial statements, and all of those phases are also taken into consideration in the software. With that, let's jump into the software. And I'm going to ask Anneke from Audit Tracker to do a presentation for us, a demonstration.
Morning, everyone. My name is Anneke, as Stefan introduced me, and I will be taking you through the software this morning. So I'm going to start with showing you exactly the overview of what the software does. You'll see on the left-hand side here, there's a standard template demo with folders number 1 to 15. Basically, all the data that we incorporate in here. I will show you dashboards at the end of the demo, just to give you a good overview of what the system does. But you can think of it like a one-stop shop type of software where you can plan your audit from the project start up until the end, and making sure that you keep track of exactly everything that you need to throughout the audit. Okay, so under the client's information, you'll see we have a contact list. So the contact list speaks to, let's say, for example, the Auditor General asks for a contact list where they know exactly who's responsible for which department within your organization. We decided to automate that so we can customize your form on your behalf. You share the form with your colleagues via a link. We can upload your logo and customize your form for you. Your employees then fill in their name, their surname. They can select who they're working for, your work email address, telephone number, and exactly which departments they are responsible for. And that gets then pulled through to your contact list. So you have an automated contact list, and you don't need to do that portion for yourself on an Excel spreadsheet to provide that to the Auditor General. We technically give the Auditor General also access to folder number 1. So they have a good overview of the contact list. We also have a little bit of a library where we can keep track of the prior year information. Let's say your prior AFS that's been signed, so everything can be uploaded with a due date. We also have a Steerco meeting library where you can enable a plugin for Zoom. And if you log into this task specifically, and I assign, let's say, a Philip, in this case, then if I enable my Zoom integration, if I open the Zoom, then it will alert Philip, we've started the Zoom meeting. We can upload the recording and also transcribe it. So this is just a space where you can upload your meetings, your minutes, for everybody to have access to that. Then we've got our project timelines, and we have created different phases. So we've got our planning phase, we've got our AFS compilation phase, and we've got the finalization phase. So what we did is the planning phase is where we come in as Audit Tracker. We obtain the client information and we implement it into the system. We customize it specifically for your entity. We assign it to the teams, the relevant people within your team or entity. We also provide training to the Auditor General. And then for you, what you can use the project timelines for as well is to plan ahead on resolving your prior year findings, and also moving on to the compilation of the audit file. When is your first draft due? When is the final unaudited version due? And then also take the engagement letter from the Auditor General and add it as your start and due dates here to say this is the agreed upon date where, for example, they said that they will not be issued findings anymore, or once the management report has been or needs to be issued. So this is just a nice overview of the total project, and for you to keep track of. Again, you can share who you want to give this access to, but this is just a nice overall project plan. And then once we provide training to either yourself or to the Auditor General, I upload the training documentation onto this platform. And if there's someone that you would like to onboard at a later stage, we assist with that, and we can give them the onboarding training video as well. However, if they do need help at a later stage, we are there to provide support. So that's basically the client information or the project information. Then I'm going to delve into the heart of it. So The audit action plan, as you all know, is for the prior year findings, and that needs to be tracked. The audit action plan needs to also be submitted, and there needs to be a continuous progress shown on the action plan. So what we've done, and this is just a structure or an example of a structure, is we take your prior year COFs or COMAFs or findings, we add them, we assess if you have obtained clarity from the AG in terms of how to resolve those findings, if a conclusion was received, if it was submitted or a management response was provided. So we do have those statuses in place. And then we also link the findings to an audit paragraph in order for you to know if there's an audit paragraph within your audit report and there's more than one finding that makes up that, or let's say more than one communication of audit finding that makes up that audit paragraph, you know exactly, okay, I need to address 1, 2, and 3 in order for this whole paragraph to disappear. What you can also do is within your finding, let's say for instance, this is a internal control deficiency. I can say within this, I need to know that step 1 needs to happen, step 2 needs to happen, or step 3 needs to happen. And I can assign whoever within my organization to make sure that they look at these steps based on the due date that I've set. And if they tick off the steps, it will automatically feed into this progress bar. So this finding is 33% resolved, and it feeds into the audit paragraph, where you'll see only 50% of the actual audit paragraph has been resolved. Therefore, it might be a repeat finding, but at least you know from your side there is traction and there's progress. We also add per section. So with every data or all the data that you put into the system, you will be able to draw graphs, track progress per section, and all those dashboards are highly customizable, but I'll show you that at the end. You've got your start date, your due date, and we've also, I like the latest comment column, because if I make a comment on the task, it will pull through here on your right-hand side. So this can be exported into Excel. So if you need to share it with someone to indicate the progress, you can share it in Excel. It's not just in the system, and that person does not need to have access to the system. Okay, so that's the action plan. Then we also, if the AG onboards, give them access to the AGSA RFI register. Okay, and these RFI registers work exactly the same as the action plan. So I'm going to use an example on P-N01. This is a physical RFI that's been distributed by the Auditor General. Right, you'll see we uploaded the documentation. So you can upload as much documentation as you want, but let's say this is now the initial RFI that was issued. You can see that this RFI touches a whole bunch of departments and sections, and that means that there might be different people responsible for different sections and different items on this list. This is the planning RFI. It's usually a very large RFI. It touches, like I mentioned, a lot of sections. So what we've done is we've mimicked exactly what the auditors are asking for, but we've added it as separate tasks. So we've got audit and performance management. We've got our human resources. And what makes this nice is now you can assign an individual to only the audit and performance management part. If that person is assigned, they get an email in their Outlook with a reminder to say, you have been assigned to PN01, audit and performance management, and they can log in. They can see exactly what is being required from them. They can upload the documentation. Let me show you how to do that. That's quite easy. So I'm just going to say upload file. I can bulk select from Excel, Word, a screenshot, PDF. And if I say open, you'll see it uploads the documentation in here. Then I click send and everything is lying down here in the tasks. If the Auditor General then comes in, okay, so the person that's been assigned to this task then changes the status to submit to AG. And we set automation so once your AG team has onboarded and we know who to alert once the information has been submitted, we set up an automation and that person from the AG gets an alert on Outlook to say information for P&O1 has been submitted and is ready for review. They can come and log in, they can download the information in bulk, and then they can submit or not submit, they can actually say they accept it, or it's resulted in a cough, or there might be a duplication of information that they requested, so that they place it on hold. You can also type into the comment section your activity, and it keeps track, it keeps an audit trail of exactly who did what. We can set the parameters of the security in terms of people not being able to delete information, people only being able to view information. We can also customize the statuses to ask, let's say on your behalf, if there's a second reviewer or a third reviewer that needs to review the information before it gets submitted to the AG. So that's the process of how the RFIs work, but I think it forms basis of how the rest of the system will also work on the functionality. You'll see it's very user-friendly. Once you've added an assignee and a due date, then that person who's been assigned will get an alert once they've assigned to the task. Once the task is, I think, 2 and then 1 day prior to the due date, and then on the due date, and also keep on reminding them that they have reached an overdue stage. Okay. What then happens is we've also split it per section. So you can now see the ratio between how many RFIs are being asked per section. Is there perhaps a section that you need to plan for next year, that there was a lot of information being requested? And then also who might be a little bit late or tend to not respond as quickly. Then we've also got an RFI category, which becomes extremely important for your audit, specifically regarding the planning for the next year. So on your RFI category, you've got business processes, we've got non-sample driven RFIs, we've got sample and walkthrough. So if we tag the RFIs correctly on this, let's say during the first run, this audit in 2025, we can now predict what RFIs the auditors are going to ask for if they are non-sample driven or if they are business processes. That means by collecting the data, we roll forward the file in the next year's audit, and you can now start with a compilation of your audit file for information that they request for each and every year, put it in an extra folder and give them access prior to the audit commencing. That also means that it will make the RFIs less in the long run, because they wouldn't need to issue business processes anymore, or business process requests for information, and also non-sample driven RFIs. So it just assists with that mushroom effect of being extremely busy during the audit by minimizing the amount of information that they ask for and giving it to them on a yearly basis. So that's the RFI register. Then from folder number 4 up until folder number 11, this mimics the financial statement part where you need to compile evidence. And once you've submitted your financial statements, you also have the evidence to submit together with the financial statements. So the more comprehensive your file is, also the less RFIs will be issued from the Auditor General. This is kind of like an audit readiness process that you follow, and you can duplicate it every year. You can refine it by looking at the non-sample driven RFIs. So for governance and SEM, I'm going to just use this as an example. We've got an organization list we can predict that they will be asking for a list of your key projects or your organizational structure. I know internally we can now start obtaining that information. So I can add a due date, I can assign it to individuals, they can upload the information, and we can keep track of it on a dashboard per folder that shows you exactly, okay, 27 tasks is unassigned. They have no owner. That means nobody will be looking at them. In progress means the owner has acknowledged that they got the information, but it's not yet finalized. It's not been reviewed. It's not been signed off. And then also for completed. So you've got a little dashboard here that will show you exactly where everything is. And I think as management, just to log in and quickly look at the dashboard will give you a great overview of exactly where your department or where the compilation of the AFS is. You can also, this is interclickable, so you can click on the ones that's deemed as audit ready, and you can see these ones has been assigned to a specific person and what information is deemed as audit ready. Once you also change the status to audit ready, and you're happy with everything, we automatically start building the audit file, and we don't give the auditors access from folder number 4 to folder number 11. We only give them access to folder number 12, which is then your complete audit file with all the work that you've done between folder number 4 and folder number 11. Again, very highly customizable. If there's extra tasks that you want to add within your planning, we can do that for you, and we do that in the implementation stage. So now the auditors, we give them access. You've submitted your financial statements, and they log in. They can now come here and see, okay, everything has been submitted. So this status will actually say submitted to AG. They can come in and they can acknowledge that they received it. Again, this gets saved on an audit trail. Okay. Then we can look at the AGSA COF register. So the COF register follows the same approach as the RFI register. The big difference in this specific register is that it has different statuses. So the statuses will either show, okay, we've submitted the information, we as a client or we as the entity, we've responded to the auditors. Then there was a conclusion reached, it's either a limitation or it was a conclusion reached, it's either a disagreement or it's been resolved. So these become important to keep track of. We also add sections to it. And then if the finding triggers certain things that needs to change on your AFS. For example, if it's a disclosure that needs to be updated, if it's an account that needs to be reclassified, if it's a journal that is required to be passed, and if it's dependent on your financial adjustments, if you tick any one of these 4 columns, it will pull through to a change register. This will then help you to keep track of the changes that you need to make on your AFS. If, let's say, for example, you are extremely pressed for time, you can now factor in the fact, is it a material finding or is it not a material finding? You can filter them according to the ones that has the most impact on your financial statements. You can get the AG to agree to the changes on the system, keep track of it, have a little description. Again, you can export it, and then you know exactly where the changes to your IFS will happen, making also sure that the auditors agree to the changes. So that's the link between the COF and the change register. We also then have a little handover file where we just make sure that we tick off that your ERP system has been reconciled to your financial statements or whatever the case may be. So that is the whole folder, let's say from folder number 1 to folder number 15. I just quickly want to touch base then on the dashboards. So the dashboards, this is your team overview. We can set up different groups for you. So you can filter this according to your finance department, your SEM department, your managers. You can filter it according to your AGSA group as well. And now you can keep track. You'll see in my case, that is now me. I've not done 25 tasks. My manager can come in and say, there's 5 items not started. They can open that up. They can tell me what's going on here. I immediately receive a link in my email and I can type back, or I can make sure that I do the work. This can be tracked then on a daily basis, and it is updated in real time. The access is cloud-based, so whoever is working from home, they can log in and upload the information. So it's not necessarily limited to being office-based. What also makes this nice is you can, for example, if I need to attend to 25 documents or requests or tasks, we can go and bulk assign someone else. If something now, for example, if I go on holiday, someone else can be bulk assigned and they will know exactly where I was, what still needs to happen, and the information is stored in one place. Then if you look at the dashboard, this one says MFMA, but we have developed templates for the TVET and the PFMA market as well. So this is now specifically for your very, very senior management that does not want to form part of all the operational things. They don't want to take note of all the nitty-gritty things. They can log into this dashboard and they can come and check what is the project overview, how many business processes has been picked up, what is the current ratio on your RFIs. So for example, 20% is business processes and 20% non-sample driven, meaning that if we plan ahead for next year, the RFIs will be less by 40%. You can track your prior year findings and how many changes to the AFS has been triggered. This is your RFI dashboard and your finding dashboard. Again, it's very interclickable. You can click on the overdue status. You can see exactly who's responsible, open the task, go into the audit trail, and know what is happening. Then we've got the compilation of the annual financial statement portion. This is now again going into your organizational structure and showing what has been for your governance and SEM portion of your financial statements, and then seeing exactly where everything is, what is the progress on each and every portion that you've set up and the tasks that you're busy tracking. So it follows the same up until disclosures. Then we've got our financial statement portion, which is just an overview from folder number 4 to folder number 11. And then we can also track the information that's been submitted to the AG. So you'll see the one that I ticked as the auditors has accepted the information, the progress will update. So that's it on the dashboards. I hope that everybody sees the value of the product and that it's very easy, it's highly customizable. If there's dashboards that you want us to set up on your behalf, we do that. We also offer a weekly check-in with a project manager that makes sure that you are okay. We perform change management. We also give a little bit of intelligence back to the client in terms of the data that we have picked up, indicating risks, and just walking that path with you, making sure that you get the most out of the product. Okay, I'm going to hand over back to Stefan.
Oh, thank you, Anneke. Sure, that's a mouthful of information, and I hope you are blown away like me on and what you have seen. As all good things, we need to onboard you, and you would actually pick up during the demonstration what is the information that we would need. I think first of all is the team members that would be part of this process. Anneke have shared, at some of the sites, and I'll ask her now, just how many users are participating in this project and needs to be managed, but we can deal with that during the Q&A. But we need your contact lists. Who is the leaders and the responsibility lines with each one of the sections, the prior management report from the Auditor General, your prior communication of audit findings, plus a very interesting, we would recommend the auditor's conclusions. We know we've seen that's not always available, but it does help in the automation and the generation of the next year's audit action plan, the trial balance by lead schedule. And I think this is where Audit Tracker and Adapt IT partnership really comes to the forefront. You use Caseware to produce your financial statements, to manage the iterations, and then there's integration from Caseware to Audit Tracker, and that is the whole process that's kicked off because of that. And that's also a big, major value proposition that we bring to our clients that uses Caseware. They can now also add to their ecosystem Audit Tracker, and everything is just nicely integrated. Any of your RFIs that has been issued for the current year, your request for information, as you see, that is a very important data point that is tracked and that is managed. Even like Anneke showed, even if the RFI is just one big document, it needs to be broken up in all these different components and managed from there. And then who must have the access information. I think what's unique to Audit Tracker is this the onboarding timelines. It's fairly easy, very easy, not fairly, it's very easy software to understand, very intuitive to understand. So the implementation doesn't take long. The training is fairly quick. We offer a specialized onboarding process to take the Auditor General and also to train them how to use the software. And then very importantly, as Anneke mentioned, the weekly check-in by qualified project managers that really helps you to manage your process. So I think that's on the onboarding process. At this point, we open up the floor for some questions and answers, a session. However, just maybe to get the juices flowing, I just prepared some questions for Anneke, and maybe Anneke can just respond with those questions. The first question, Anneke, is just from our current implementation sites. Can you just give a bit of a high level? How many actors are at play at some of these sites?
Perfect, thank you, Stefan. So we have 8 projects running, and they differ throughout the MFMA, TVET, PFMA, different clients. So we have quite a lot of clients under our belt already.
And I was also asking maybe about how many users are maybe involved in each one of those sites.
So
some indication of numbers.
Okay, the largest site we have is a PFMA client, where we currently have the Auditor General's team is about 50. That's 50, and then the client in itself has about 100 people that they want to be managed within the financial department.
So it's 150 users that needs to be managed, tasks, deadlines. So I don't think you are able to do that without proper software and project management tools. Maybe another question that I was thinking is, what's your experience in why that makes it difficult for the users to start using the software? Is it maybe a bit of a yeah, what would be like the barriers of using it?
I think it's the hand holding from the beginning, but I think we factored in that risk into assisting as a project manager to make sure that people are comfortable. We provide that ongoing support on a daily basis, making sure that the people utilize the system. We can also track actually how many people have logged in, how much they utilize the system. So it's a back and forth. I know people tend to be a little bit they don't like change. So it is at the beginning. I think it is a bit of a hand holding process, but we do offer that. And then once the people have gained understanding as to how it works, the feedback that we've gotten is that they can't live without it.
Oh, sure. That's good to hear. Okay, cool. So I just want to check. I don't see any other questions on the display. And I think with that we are going to close down. I think the moment you start, just think about the process and you think about the questions, there will be a lot coming up. Please reach out to our account management team, which Michael presented at the beginning of the session. We can organize for you a one-to-one demonstration with your relevant stakeholders in the room, giving them the opportunity to ask the questions, and we can take it from there. With that, Anneke and Michael, thank you so much for presenting, and for you, the audience, thank you so much for listening in to us. And with that, we are closing.